Michael with CTV News. After this USMA signing, everyone called it a win-win-win. When you consider what Donald Trump is going for here, or no, sorry, how he sees negotiations, what do you think he's going for here then?
You know, this is something that I've reflected on a fair bit, because the USMCA, the CUSMA in Canada, was a win-win. And we've seen a win-win-win for Mexico as well. We've seen over the past years, since we signed this landmark modernized trade agreement that Donald Trump led on, the jobs have been created, economies have grown, we've strengthened our North American competitiveness faced with challenges from around the world. It has been really good for all three of our countries. We do see, however, that President Trump's approach has consistently been America first. And the big argument that we have to continue to make is that America first happens best when Canadians and Mexicans are prospering as well. That a win-lose between us would actually be worse for them than a win-win. That's true in international trade, in relations between nation states. It perhaps is not true in real estate deals. That a win-lose is probably better for someone who is experienced in business deals than a win-win. But when it comes to countries, win-wins are actually the best outcomes. And that is an argument that we've continued to make many times, and that I've personally made many times with the President. And there is no better example of that than the extraordinary success we have created, Canadians and Americans together, in the most successful economic partnership in the history of the world.
Against these tariffs, if President Trump decides to make a carve-out for energy, are you concerned that that will be tested and that we won't see that unity as firm with premiers in energy-producing provinces like Danielle Smith or Scott Moe?
I think, first of all, any carve-outs that support any workers in Canada, even if it's just one industry or another, are going to be a good thing. To see lessening impacts of these tariffs is certainly something that I think is of concern and is a good thing for people on both sides of the border. But as I've said repeatedly, Canadians are in this together. And if some industries don't have the same kinds of pressure, we're going to be leaning on all Canadians to be there for certain industries that are facing a little more pressure. We need to make sure, more than just about anything else, that Canadians remain united across provinces and regions, across industries and sectors, that we all understand we're in this together. And if someone gets an exemption or someone manages to hold through, well, that's great, because money that we might have spent on supporting them can be spent better on supporting people who are still being hit by this. So we will be open to any exemptions and exceptions, but we also will reemphasize we are in a trade war with the United States that they launched unjustifiably. We're going to continue to be strong and resolute in our response, and we will continue to be there for each other, because the unity that Canadians are feeling right now is actually the most important thing in being able to stand up against a trading partner that is much bigger than us, but is facing real internal debates and divisions on the impacts of these unjustified tariffs, particularly on Canada.
Mia Rabson from the Canadian Press. Secretary Letnick has just said that President Trump is going to, or likely to, decide today to exempt all USMCA compliant trade from the tariffs until April 2nd, not just autos as reported yesterday. What's your take on that? Does that kind of have any impact on Canada's response?
That aligns with some of the conversations that we have been having with administration officials. But it is a promising sign, but I will highlight that it means that the tariffs remain in place, and therefore our response will remain in place.
From what's going on in the White House, but also in Canada with your expected departure, possibly days away, and also pending an election. Are you worried about that having an impact on Canada's ability to continue negotiating with the United States? And are you considering playing some kind of caretaker role up to and including staying on as a caretaker PM for a bit?
No, I will not be. That I look forward to a transition to my duly elected successor in the coming days or week. What I will say, however, is regardless of our democratic processes, the fact that Canadians are as united as they are across provincial leadership representing many different parties, across an approach that has Canadians pulling together and being strong on defending Canada and focused on creating the kind of growth and resilience in our economy that we need. I think it'll be fine that there be very clear ideas about who and how the country should move forward in an eventual federal election, whenever it does happen. It'll be an opportunity for Canadians to decide, how they want to respond best in the coming years. And the unity of Canadians, even if there are political debates going on, the unity of Canadians is the single most powerful tool we have in our negotiations, in our engagement, in our standing up against these unjustified tariffs.
Prime Minister, to yesterday's call and your offer to Trump that you would hold off the bigger package of counter tariffs Canada is planning if he allows more exemptions, more carve-outs. I'm wondering why you would compromise in that fashion, given what you've just described as a larger looming threat on April 2nd for the reciprocal tariffs. And we have up to 300% tariffs on U.S. dairy products in some cases. So how are you going to effectively push back against him if you're prepared to offer a big compromise like that?
I understand how much the media loves to speculate, given on this, that thing that they've heard. We're in negotiations right now. When I have an announcement to make about how we're going to move forward, we will make it. What I will say is we are in a moment right now where Canada has a very, very strong bargaining position because Canadians are so united and unequivocal about standing up for our country, standing up for our fellow citizens, and being very, very firm that this is an absolutely unjustified and unjustifiable trade war launched by the Americans, and that is what we're going to continue to stay true to.
Your Foreign Affairs Minister yesterday called all of this a psychodrama. How do you characterize it?
Thursday.
You were correct.
I've had 10 years of Donald Trump won, historic, once-in-a-century pandemic, inflation crises, war in Ukraine as Russia returns to war in Europe, as the Middle East is facing extraordinarily difficult situations. These have been complicated times. This is the job I signed up for. This is the job I will continue to do until the very last moment I'm doing this job. And it comes with the territory to be steady and strong for Canadians.
You serious?